What's up, everybody? Hogan 93 in the place to be. Welcome to the Wrestling Corner, episode 12 of season 5. Hope everybody had a nice weekend because, in a way, last weekend was basically Star Wars weekend, but that was the initial weekend. I think, excuse me, the remaining weeks, even up until 2016, will be Star Wars weekend. And if you are wondering if I have seen Star Wars: The Force Awakens, then I'm going to tell you right now that I have not seen the movie yet. I do plan on seeing the movie. It'll be my first time seeing Star Wars in the movie theaters. If I do not go on to watch the original 3 before seeing this one, then it will be my first ever Star Wars movie that I've seen all the way through. Yes, I'm one of the, as like that meme said, I'm one of the 1% that has not seen Star Wars. I've seen bits and pieces of Star Wars, but not all the way through. But on this edition of the Wrestling Corner, we'll be reviewing NXT's latest event, which was last week, NXT Takeover London. Not only would I be reviewing it, but also I will be. You guys stop. You guys said it the same way. Not only would I be reviewing, I will be partnered. I will be alongside, with my guest and also my good friend Sly Cooper 88, aka you know him as Steve. Yes. So it's been a while since Steve has been on the Wrestling Corner, but it's always good to have him on there. It's always good, Oh, he wants Kane. And those are pretty interesting. Here's a little funny thing. And soon Steve should be dropping in at any time. But here's a funny thing. The Wrestling Corner, I was really going to do this Wrestling Corner yesterday. I waited for Steve, and I left the link for him to come in, but nothing came out of that. Found out that he had some issues to take care of. But so I started the video anyway. So I was going to do it without Steve. Because it was still a good enough time. And then as I'm doing the video and I go to the Hangout page, I think I missed and clicked stop broadcast. For those that know on Google Hangout, when you're broadcasting live, there's the rectangle button, it says stop broadcast. I think I missed and clicked that. Next thing you know, I'm seeing it stopping. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And think broadcast terminated. I'm like, so initially, the wait is almost like the Wrestling Corner episode 12 of season 5 to like 2.1 or something, because the original video was only like 23 seconds. I made my introduction and I'll talk about what was going to be on the agenda, and next thing you know, it just ended. So yeah, that's a little funny haha moment from yesterday. Oh. So so it's funny. Originally, this was going to be happening during WWE's during WWE's Slammies, which was not all that entertaining. If it does have time after reviewing Takeover, we'll probably talk about Raw, but I've always felt that the Slammy Award Raws, they're not the best produced shows from the WWE. They're really not. And this one was no different. So while it's not airing during Raw, it's airing during SmackDown, because yes, for those that don't know, SmackDown is on tonight on its actual day. And once again, for those that don't know, SmackDown has been taped on Tuesdays since it's ever aired. So and every time it's shown on Tuesday, they call it Super Smackdown. I'm like, let me hook. Just waiting on Steve. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, Michinoku driver. The dreaded Michinoku driver now. Ooh. Oh boy. And look who it is. It's Steve. What the hell? Man, I nailed it this time. Did you like it? Man, I nailed it this time. It's Steve.
All right, there we go.
And there we go.
What?
No, because you said, and there we go. So I'm like, and there we go.
Look at my volume. I had my volume a little bit low, so I was trying to make sure that I had it all set.
You know, a lot of people, for those people that don't know, Google Hangouts, they have this beta form, which I'm not sure if it's going to become. Most of the time when things are beta, they become the permanent form. But lately, when I've tried to do Hangout, my first time I ever tried doing a Hangout on that beta form, it did not work out for me and who I was having to hang out with. So there's a lot of things that they need to patch up on with that beta. Just like how certain people didn't have a really good experience with the Windows 10 update.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially since you can't directly go to Hangouts through that Microsoft Edge beta. Like I'm getting better with using Microsoft Edge, but then I was like, okay, let me use a Hangout. Put this in perspective, guys. When I got Windows 10, everybody talked, cow jumping over the moon about how, it's so much better. There's so many good features. And I'm like, okay, it's the same braggadocious crap as every other Windows update. So then I get to Microsoft Edge. I'm like, okay, I kind of like this. It saves your favorite websites that you go to frequently. It keeps your Gmail emails and stuff like spam mail or whatever right there for you to access. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I go to do a Google Hangout with Malcolm and Chris, just a regular hangout. I think it was for it was for the YouTubers Core Jessica Jones video or so. And then it kept saying, okay, update the plugin. And I was like, okay, so update the updated plugin. Then right after, Malcolm loved this part, guys, because then after I get done downloading the plugin, it's like you need to download the other plugin. I'm like, so wait a minute, okay, I just download the plugin. And it kept bringing up you have to install the plugin to use Go. I'm like, so then apparently I go online to find out, oh yeah, you can't use Microsoft Edge for the Google Hangout because for some reason it doesn't process the software. You have to use Chrome. I'm like, then why didn't they put that in the disclaimer for Microsoft Edge? It's like you cannot use some websites or features. So I go to the Hangout and it gives me the install plugin. And I was like, I'm not downloading the plugin. Then I looked and I was like, oh wait, that's right. I got to switch to Chrome to be able to use Google Hangouts. It's like now I remember.
I still have yet to use Microsoft Edge. Once I updated to Windows 10, I stuck with Firefox. I know, because Because I saw when Chris would use it, Microsoft Edge, there'll be some things he'll go on YouTube. Like for some reason, YouTube, like the screen would just stay black, and like a video couldn't be watched. You just probably just hear the audio. And that's when I realized, okay, this Microsoft Edge, this thing is still a beta. This thing is not a finished product.
It is still in beta, but they've actually since the Chris probably got it when Microsoft like 10 probably came out because like they've now streamlined it with Microsoft Edge. For those of y'all that have not tried Windows 10 yet, they've patched a lot of stuff from when the beta first came out because I waited a long while to update to Windows 10. So there's a lot of stuff that they've kind of patched up and streamed. Like I can go to YouTube, watch videos perfectly fine. I can do all that stuff, but I think a lot of it is your internet provider, which I don't know. I mean it's not just necessarily all completely Windows 10's fault. They have patched a lot of stuff since it initially came out. But even then, you would think when you're putting an update, something that big, something with that much like advanced processing done, especially a beta for like something as quote unquote, no pun intended, as cutting edge as Microsoft Edge, that you would actually, that you would make sure that this stuff works. But just like a game, when it first comes out, it's broken and buggy and
What the?
of course, obviously, unlike, when I was playing Batman, Arkham Origins one time when I decided to go offline on my Xbox, you're not falling through the map and seeing all the texture details that the developers did to build the entire world, which I'm not gonna lie, that freaked me out when I first saw it, especially when I started tripping balls because Batman has like all these reversed images of himself, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, down goes Devon. Oh, sister.
Are you rewatching Raw?
No, SmackDown's on.
Wait, it moved to Tuesday nights?
And I was telling people this is WWE. This is that WWE week, and they're showing SmackDown live. I mean, I should say Super Smackdown live. Basically, SmackDown airing on its original day, Tuesday, on USA.
Frickin' yeah, Devon, the sweatiest man in professional wrestling. But I still love not our Chris, but I love one of my coworkers, Chris. He's like, make fun of his perspiration all you wish, but Devon is solid in the ring. There was a great pun to that. For those of y'all who can figure out the witty pun of that, congratulations to you. To those that are like, I don't get it, leave the room. Because that's actually funny. I'm sorry, it is.
Oh no, not these guys.
But man, I still say the TNA TV title, Malcolm, has still not recovered from its rust.
Well,
on the shoulder and forehead of Devon.
Well, as we all know, the TNA Television Championship is basically the King of the Mountain Championship. Yeah. That belt has had so many makeovers. I mean, name changes, not even funny. It went from being the Legends Championship to the Global Championship to the TV Championship, now to the King of the Mountain Championship. Crazy. Hey, it's Neville.
And then they show an advertisement for the Pop channel, and I was like, oh man, TNA just it looks like everything that an indie promotion should not be for wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, TNA already moving to another station, and like I was talking with my uncle over the phone. I'm like, And that Pop, I've never heard of the channel, but that does not sound like a broadcast that would promote something of the likes of wrestling. It just does not. It sounds like something that promotes, I don't know, pop music.
Or like pop culture.
Exactly. Because Destination America barely promoted TNA and they barely promoted Ring of Honor as well. So, as the saying goes, it doesn't. You're not really going to do well if your own station that you're on doesn't promote you. Case in point.
But you know what though? But you know what though, Malcolm? Destination America, Pop, and all them. The one thing, what really would have helped them is if they had, of course, the King of Maryland Championship Wrestling, Ryan McBride's air horn, and that annoying announcer guy just in there going, "This is total nonstop action wrestling."
Um,
Yes, you will watch as Bobby Lashley attempts to become Brock Lesnar.
um,
You'll watch Matt Hardy and his brisket gut just hang out for the entire audience to see. You'll see, you'll you'll see Eric Young grow his beard out and put more maple syrup on it than Matt Morgan.
oh my.
It's just like really silly stuff to where people are like, what is this guy even talking about?
Yes. Finally, Owen Hart gets his DVD. Finally.
Yeah, but at what cost? His wife has stonewalled WWE and everybody else to not use photos, match stuff, etc.
What do you mean? That was the first.
Like that was like that's something that's been the controversy surrounding this DVD. Like Owen's wife really stonewalled WWE and saying, "Oh, well, you can't use all these photos, these match, clips, all this stuff. They could only use stuff that basically she chose for the DVD." Which to me, like even Brett was basically saying it's like, look, I'm not happy about what happened with Owen, but just let it go. It's like, it's not doing anybody any good.
All right. Oh, all right. There you
And
go.
and she's also the reason that Owen's not in the Hall of Fame yet. It's like, look,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As respectfully as I understand how she's felt all these years being bitter and blaming WWE, there comes a point that bygones be bygones. I mean, look at the Montreal screw job. Look how many years it took before Brett and Sean finally made amends, and Vince and Brett, publicly on like TMZ and stuff, and then settling it in the ring at WrestleMania or so. It's like it's like after a while, it's like now we see Brett on WWE TV after he said for years that he never would, and he stopped blaming Brett and it. Brett stopped blaming Vince and WWE for what happened to Owen. And honestly, the way I look at it is that, Vince has admitted, publicly, behind closed doors, but people that were there, quoted him that, Vince, it was just an unfortunate accident, and that Vince actually genuinely, does want to put Owen in the Hall of Fame. He does, even Vince feels like Owen deserves to be in there. So that's always been the thing for with Nancy Hart. I think that's Owen's wife's name. I've always felt like Nancy Hart is just she's doing, to put it in the comic book sense, she's trying to be like the Siegels, the Schusters, and the Kirbys.
My
She's trying to milk.
his wife's name is
Yeah, she's
Martha.
trying to milk off, his legacy, or like basically she's basically punishing, wrestling fans for what Vince and them did. And I'm sorry, but that's really selfish if you're going to basically punish people over your husband's death that happened, I want to say, let's see, that was in the 90s, that was in the Attitude Era. Yeah, something that was like 15, 16, maybe even close to 20 years ago.
It's been 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been 16 years since Owen Hart's passing.
By now, the hatchet to me should long be buried. It's like, it's time now, Malcolm, that Owen gets his place in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's time that, the previous generation that didn't grow up with watching Owen wrestle get to actually experience his life, the man that was behind the matches. To see the genuinely good, good-natured and prankster person that Owen was.
Well,
If you've ever watched any shoot,
the funny thing is that Martha Hart didn't have any approval of this, so it's not like WWE had to go through her. No, they put this out, rumor that without her approval, and that's why she's all up. That's why she's upset. So, so basically, what we're seeing all those backstage stuff with Owen. No, that's not because Martha Hart. Okay, you can put that. No, WWE just are. You know what? We're finally gonna do this. We're gonna finally put the Heart of Gold DVD. So it's been in the making for such a long time. Okay, see, he's right here.
and honestly,
Owen's
to
wife,
me,
Martha, has taken legal action to try to prevent the company from releasing any action figures, DVDs, or other merchandise. Since his tragic death, yeah, she has always prevented from action figures being released, DVDs being released, or any other merchandise bearing his likeness from being released. That's why Owen Hart was in after WWF Attitude was the Legends of Wrestling games. So I said,
which, I mean, like you said, it's been 16 years, and I think anybody watching this can kind of understand where Malcolm and I are kind of on both sides of this. On one hand, we get it. Martha Hart, Owen's wife, she wants to, in her mind, not stain or sell out Owen's legacy. But the problem with Martha's thinking, at least in terms of speculatory sense, is that you're actually tarnishing Owen's legacy rather than embracing it. Because, yes, like I said, what happened happened and it was tragic. But even Vince, not being selfish, not looking at cha-ching money signs, no, Vince loved Owen, loved him as a worker, loved him as an employee, and Vince has always been the first to say that Owen was not only a hard worker, but that he was genuinely a good person. And Vince wants him in the Hall of Fame. Vince wants to honor Owen. He wants to honor, like I said, the man behind, the wrestling. He wants to, he wants to do the same thing that he did for Brett. And even the Hart Dynasty afterwards, he wants to honor, the tradition of what the Hart family had brought to WWE. And that to me is something that's very important. Although I do kind of wish that they would push Natty, but that's beside the point.
oh,
But but I've always looked at that. I've always looked at it in that sense. It's like, you really can't keep, probably to me one of the mainstays of WWE going into the Attitude Era, because let's kind of look at it. I mean, he's teamed with Coco Beware. He was, the Rocket. I mean, he did phenomenally well. Led to, in my opinion, a very great match between him and Brett. I think it was, trying to remember. I think it was WrestleMania 7 or 8. It might have been actually even 10.
WrestleMania
I think
10.
10 was where the Ruth Ramon Shawn Michaels ladder match was, right?
Well, WrestleMania 10 kicked off the show with Owen Hart and Burr, which for a long time was considered the best opening match in WrestleMania history.
Yeah, and and Owen came close one time. I remember in a steel cage match to beating Brett for the WWF title. WWE now, but it was known as the WWF back then. Yeah, he almost won the title. Then he
Yeah,
became the Blackheart, and then obviously, which I'm sorry, I still kind of chuckle at just the gimmick part of it. When the Nation of Domination went off the rails, and then started recruiting like whatever members they could, and then of course the whole like nugget thing between like the Nation and DX. I mean, so it and then tragically to the very last gimmick that he did, which was the blue blazer, and that to
yeah, he
me,
returned.
I mean,
He returned
I,
as the
I mean
Blue
to me,
Blazer.
what?
He returned as the Blue Blazer. He first debuted as the Blue Blazer, and then he did the gimmick again. And it was kind of funny that he did it during the Attitude Era, and so
But the way I look at it is that Owen, anybody, if you've ever watched any shoot interviews with anybody that knew Owen, everybody will always say the same thing about Owen, that despite being a prankster, that Owen genuinely at his core was
oh,
a very good-natured person.
look out! Yeah, yeah, I mean, just to end it, I don't think no, I don't think that Martha is basically actually by preventing WWE from doing anything. She's not even tarnishing. It's like she's just oh,
To me, it seems like a burial kind of thing. Like that's just at least the way that I look at it. Uh-oh, are we still alive? Okay, well, had to double check there, make sure that Malcolm was still in the room, guys. So I think Malcolm kind of got kicked out there momentarily. So we'll wait and see, guys, if he comes back. But no, honestly, I don't know. I've always had very strong feelings about this, guys. I genuinely have very strong feelings that, to me, at least personally, that Martha Hart, has kind of let her feelings fester to a point that it got kind of ridiculous. It's like it's been 16 years. What happened, but you can't like let that like stop you, like stop you or stop anybody else. Or hang on, let me actually check something real quick. You should worship the King of Maryland Championship Wrestling, Ryan McBride. He is your Lord and Savior, Ryan McBride.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. For some reason, my
Oh, holy
computer just
crap! You
went to sleep
scared me.
out of nowhere. I was gonna say that by Martha Hart trying to basically prevent WWE from doing anything on her own heart. It's not even. It's not embracing. It's not tarnishing. It's just keeping his legacy stagnant, which is sad and pitiful. Oh no! Oh! But I'll tell you something that was not pitiful, which was the main course of this video. NXT Takeover London. That's right. That's right. Oh, NXT Takeover London. It aired the broadcast last Wednesday, live, which was surprising for me because look out. Because most wrestling events that air in the UK, they're either exclusive to the UK, like when W used to do Rebellion and Insurrection, they were pay-per-views, but nobody in the States got them. We couldn't order them. They were only exclusive to the UK. Or if they are aired to everybody, they're taped hours before because everybody knows the time difference. But for Takeover, nope. They aired 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 o'clock on the Central Time, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Mountain Time, 12 o'clock Pacific Time. Yes, those are all the time zones in America. Yes. So it was pretty interesting. And for me, oh no. Oh wait, hold up. Now move out of the way. Because I'm telling you, this Del Rio, he's gonna kill somebody. I'm not joking. Thank you. He's gonna kill somebody
Yeah,
with
that double foot stomp. I'm surprised that he hasn't injured somebody with that yet.
I'm, I'm telling you, he is gonna seriously hurt somebody with his version of the Warrior's Way. Oh my gosh, that was right on Jimmy's jaw. This guy is 6'4", 6'5", and to make it matters worse, like me and Chris always say, unlike Loki or Senshi, Dario doesn't jump. He just drops off the freaking turnbuckle and lands on somebody. But I digress. So since it aired 3 o'clock, I was like, okay, I don't want to miss an hour of this because I was just getting off school/work at 3 o'clock that day. Um, and I'm like, if I leave now, I'm gonna get back home like around 4 or something. And most time the takeovers, they're 2-hour events. But I'm like, I want to actually watch this live. So I'm like, you know what? I want to stay 2 extra hours in school, at my school and watch Takeover London. Sure enough, once 3 o'clock, I rushed up to the student center. I'm like, I'm taking out the laptop. Most of my friend Mel's looking at it like, Malcolm, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, getting the power cord in. I'm like, start, damn you. I'm like, hooray! I made it just in time. Hey, it's Roman Reigns. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! And finally,
which that's something that you and I need
oh
to actually just. Which this is something that, not to be Debbie Downer, but something that I think you and I need to address. I mean, as fun as it was on
oh,
Monday, seeing Mr. McMahon again, and then seeing him get Superman punched, and Roman winning the championship, they couldn't do that at tables, ladders, and chairs. They had to wait the night after on Raw to do that.
you know, before we get into the review of Takeover, I do look at okay, you couldn't have had, you know, Reigns winning at TLC. But how I always look at it, the ending of TLC was a narrative that was being played out throughout the year of Reigns. Like, when is this guy going to snap? When is he finally going to snap and break and cut loose for all these setbacks? And I knew after TLC ended, the next day I'm at school. My friend Will asked me, "What do you think is going to happen at on Raw?" First thing I thought of was how Mick Foley got his title match against The Rock on the famous January 4th episode. I'm like, probably Reigns is going to storm in, cause hell. He's probably going to take somebody for hostage and make demands. And, I only stop until I get my title match. Boom, he gets his title match. And he's going to beat Sheamus. I had a feeling like he's going to win the title. He's going to win the title Monday. Sure enough, it wasn't him making demands. He had to get slapped by Stephanie, and then Vince McMahon to come in, and basically the whole easy way to get Vince is to play to his ego, and basically test him. And then Sheamus comes out. I put the WWE champ. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, I'm like, okay, Sheamus is gonna lose. And I do agree with my friend Nate. I thought either Reigns, if they weren't going to do it the next night, they were going to have Reigns win it on the Slammies edition to make the Slammies edition feel special. And now thinking back, they probably could have, since the Slammies edition of Raw was not that special. Or they were going to wait. Hey, it's Becky, the last kicker or so. Or they were going to wait until the first Raw of the new year, because sometimes WWE likes having the first Raw of the new year be something special. But they did on the night after TLC, and part of me thinks probably could be the reason. One reason could be that there was reports saying that ever since Sheamus had became champion, the ratings were dropping, and that's why I find it convenient that Vince McMahon came on the show, because I was like, this is the second time in the span of 3 years that when the reports have come out that Raw's ratings dropped a record low, that Vince came on the show and put somebody over or did something special. First time, he had that street fight against CM Punk when they started battling with kendo sticks, and now this time he basically puts over Roman, basically a little bit of attitude era Raw where Vince gets laid out, tries to interfere in a match, and there's a championship crowned on Raw. Even though I agree with Nate, I could have did without Roman getting slapped the hell out of Stephanie and not doing anything. And me and Chris did talk about that the night the after Raw. And when done reviewing Raw, I'll probably get on to that about Stephanie and everything, because she did it even this past Raw. But then he gets kicked in the balls by Vince McMahon. And it's like, yo, and I was like, this guy supposed to be a badass. Shouldn't be having no freaking him get slapped in the same night and not do anything, and then get kicked in the balls, because that's only how
No, but you
high
know
Vince
what
can get
though?
his leg up.
You gotta remember though, this is the P, because I've talked about this with a few of my coworkers who, don't like the PG era of wrestling, and I love what one of my other coworkers brought up. He goes, "Okay, it's the PG era. Why would you have a man basically beat or put his hands on a woman?" And I said, that's a point that I think we all are kind of looking at the PG era. Nobody will touch Stephanie or Paige or any of the other divas because of the fact that, oh, well, even though this woman is, a heel and she's using the men, that, yeah, they can't retaliate because she's a woman and that would anger a lot of feminists, which I understand, but, I'm sorry, I hate to play devil's advocate, but, Stephanie at least did kind of deserve a Superman punch. I'm sorry, she did.
But there's the perfect counter to this. And talked with Nate about it, talked with Chris about it, and they both said that they both agreed with me. Perfect counter is I said the same thing. I know WWE's going with this PG. They've been doing it since 2008. So they're not pushing the man on female violence as they would in the Attitude and even the sports, even the ruthless aggression era. However, one of people's main complaints about Stephanie being a heel is that not just the fact that she does, okay, we get she's not going to be touched, but the fact that mostly every promo she has, she emasculates this person and the person has no comeback on her. So it's like nobody can get any type of comeuppance on Steph, whether it's verbally, if not, you can't do it physically, at least verbally. So what I said is, okay, you have Stephanie slap the hell out of Roman. Okay, I get you're not doing the man on violence thing, but you can't at least have Roman grab her hand. It's like, at least you can do that. I'm like, you can at least have Roman grab her hand and they say, I don't care if you're a female or not. I'm not going to allow you to put your hand. That will come off straight up legitimate. Like, okay, that's real. Okay, you can't hit her because PG, but you're just not going to allow somebody to put your hands on you. Look, Sting did it. Sting did it on Mania. When Steph tried to start, what did he grabbed her hand. I'm like, you can at least have Roman.
No, but you know what, though? I think what would have legitimately sold Reigns, and I think he's even done it anytime Steph has slapped him, just have him, like, look at her and start laughing
Yeah,
while rubbing his jaw. Like, just,
yeah.
yeah, like, just looking, and even have Roman dare. It's like, come on. It's like, hit me again.
Yeah, that's true and all, but at the same time, it's almost like you just got slapped the hell by Stephanie, and then you get kicked in the balls by Vince. I agree with both me and Chris and Nate. It was like, that doesn't make Roman look like a badass. It don't. Stephanie got kicked in the ball by Vince, but luckily he got his comeuppance on Vince. But it's like, yo, come on, you get slapped. Like Charles Barkley even said, and I agree. You slap me once, I'm not letting you slap me twice or a third time. I might laugh the first time, but the second time, this ain't no, as me and Kyle was talking, this ain't no Spider-Man 2 when freaking Peter let Harry slap him in public. And I always said, man, if I was Peter, I would have decked Harry, friend or not. You ain't putting your hands on me. The old saying is, I have no problem with you, but once you put your hands on me, okay, now we got a problem. Oh, but once again, now I longly digress because I've been putting off the freaking Takeover. So when I finally got to watch Takeover, it was instantly right with Asuka/Connor's entrance, which is a perfect segue into the first match tonight, which was Asuka. See, I have no problem calling Connor Asuka because that's the actual name. I actually like that name, so I always call it either Asuka/Connor. It's not like Daniel Bryan, where it's just his name flipped. So that's why I just call him Brian. I still call him Brian Danielson, or even with freaking even with Hideo, since it looked like he changed that himself. And I actually like that name, so that's a good repackaged name. So it was Asuka versus the new and aggressive Emma with her Sin City, Titantron. And by the way, me and Chris love Emma's heel theme because it sounds something straight out of Streets of Rage. Alongside with, in this case,
or the fact that she always like has to wear her Michael Jackson glove and trying to show off her butt that she doesn't have.
Oh, I know who else doesn't have anything. That's the Ascension because they've been descending. But yeah, Emma with her her Michael Jackson. Well, I don't even call it Michael Jackson because I don't call Michael's gloves being just his fingers. It's like Emma's gloves that just come to her fingers. And this time she was wearing glasses. And I don't know if to make herself look more cooler. and alongside, you know, Miss Dana Brooke herself, looking like a Barbie mistress. That's why I was calling her Barbie mistress, because she had this freaking
Yeah, but
black corset.
I'm not gonna lie. While she still has a long ways to go athletically, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very much I'm kind of like Corey Graves. Every time Rich goes to talk, I'm like, you know what? I'm with Corey. Shut up when Dana's making her entrance.
Oh, that boy Neville. Yeah, I mean, our friend Nate. You know, Nate's been following Dana even before she came to WWE. So you know, he knows about, you know, her fitness competitions, everything. So, and we both said, you know, that with each passing match, she does get better. Unlike, you know, I'm not trying to take a blatant shot, but I'm just using an example. Unlike Eva Marie, at least Dana's already got pretty on the mic down. She can handle herself on the mic,
Yeah,
pretty comfortable on the mic.
what she lacks in ring ability, she has definitely shown on the mic that she has charisma.
But she's improving even in the ring. You know, she got the hell beat out by Connor, but there's really no shame in getting your hell beat out by Connor. But I
Oh yeah,
digress again.
even oh, man.
Get get out of here. Um, I mean, you know, first off, the UK crowd. I always love the UK crowd. They're one of my favorite crowds in all of wrestling. In all of wrestling, the UK crowd, to a degree, the Chicago crowd, even though they can sometimes be very, 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 very smarky at times, but when they're not, they're one of the best WWE crowds in America. But in terms of outside America, the UK crowd, yeah, I
No, the
love it.
UK crowds. I actually was digging on the vibe of the UK crowd. Like they actually legitimately got into every match, even if it sucked.
They made, how can I put it? The UK crowd really made Takeover more special than it was. Not saying it wasn't special, but the atmosphere, that felt like a big match atmosphere. Mostly every match, like, yeah, like Steve said, they were into mostly every match. So you know,
You know what the Takeover. You know what Takeover reminded me of? It reminded me of I believe it was at Wembley Stadium, the SummerSlam, where the main event was British Bulldog versus Bret Hart for the IC title.
and I finally got to
It
watch,
reminds me specifically of that.
that match, um, like a month ago too, because that was a match that I had never watched. You know, every time they show a rewind, yeah, Brian Bridgman, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna take a time to sit down and watch this, and now I see why it's such a classic. And you know, now going back to you know, Kana and or Oscar and Emma, um, you know, they were really pushing this. You know, throughout the build, they was pushing, you know, Emma being more, you know, aggressive. And I mean, yeah, she did lay some stiff shots on freaking Oscar, especially that clothesline when they were tied up in a backslide and she spun Oscar and wham! I was like, oh man, that was a pretty stiff clothesline. And one of the biggest spots of the match was early when Oscar did her signature hip attack, but off the apron. I was like, that got the crowd already jumped up. It's like, all right. And you know, it was pretty interesting when Emma pulled off a butterfly suplex, but into the turnbuckles. I'm like, okay, I'm like, damn, okay, that's when I'm like, okay, Emma, I know, I'm like, okay, this is new out of Emma. It is really pushing the whole aggressive thing because she doesn't do that. You know, we see Sami Zayn does the exploder into the turnbuckle, but I had never seen a double arm suplex into the turnbuckle. And then she did her Emma, what it's called, the Emma sandwich, you know, her splash in the corner. And then, sure enough, you know, she tries to go for the Emma lock. And I had a feeling, I'm like, Connor's going to freaking counter this. And she does. And she tries to lock in the Connor lock, finding Emma lock, Connor lock, or Oscar lock. And the one of the weakest ref bumps you will ever see, where it's like, come on, ref. And the funny thing is, the ref that does NXT, he's a really fit guy. Because you see him in the performance centers. If you've seen like clips of like of a breaking ground, he's in the performance center. He's a really fit guy. So it's funny to see him just take a little, I think like Oscar smashed into his head, and he's just all like this. And I'm like, and my friend Ashley, she came over, I was watching, and she just saw, she was like, how dramatic. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, hey. I'm like, hey, I'm watching this here. Don't break my concentration. But I had to agree with, I'm like, seriously, he's all like, oh God. Oh no, it hurts. And then you got freaking Barbie Mistress taking off her belt, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's going on here? Slides in the ring.
Yeah, the whole like Eddie Guerrero
Yeah,
homage, trying to make it look like Asuka hit Emma with the belt.
and I'm not going to lie, because after that happened, and then Emma did try to go for a roll up, and she gonna hold it tight, but got caught in the Oscar lock. Then freaking Barbie Mistress gets on the apron, and Emma taps out. The referee doesn't see it. And then when
Yeah,
kind of
then
wondering
of
what's
course
going on, the belt was still there. So Emma picks it up, and just like shades of the last NXT before Takeover, when poor Connor's opponent got her jaw almost kicked off, the same thing happened to Emma. She turned Asuka around, tried to go back for the punch, and wham! I'm like, ooh. And Asuka gets the 1, 2, 3. And the reason why I found that sequence interesting from the ref bump, first off, the ref bump was interesting because not that many pay-per-views start off first match, there's a ref bump. Most of them that's saved during the mid-main event match or the main event where a ref bump happens. 9 times out of 10, an opener doesn't have a ref bump. It's just straightforward, bam, 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 all right, finish, that's it. I was like, oh, sure, they had a ref bump in the first match. And then, as Steve brought, when they did the Eddie Guerrero thing, I'm thinking, oh shoot, they might actually have Connor. Her first loss is a screw job. She gets screwed. Then when it didn't work, and then when Emma got the roll and held the time, I'm thinking, oh shoot, she's like, oh, Emma's gonna steal this one. Then when she picked up the belt and reared back, I'm like, oh, she's gonna hit Con. So I told Nate, I was like, that was a good job on NXT's part. For me to have me believe on 3 straight occasions that Emma was going to steal one. It was actually believe that, oh, she might steal the victory. But she did it. She got Walla. But that was I thought that was a good opener. The crowd was into it. And my personal thoughts, as I told Chris, I was proud more for Emma because I guess in the past couple of months, Emma's stint in the main roster didn't work as well. It didn't work as well. I don't think it worked at all. And she comes back to NXT, and she first starts this heel turn with Bayley, and it's like, okay. But then with each passing moment, you start to see her, I guess, grow more comfortable in being this heel. And then when they made like Connor's arrival sparked like this aggressive. So I'm like, okay, let me see where they go with this. And at times, Emma's aggressive streak was pretty legitimate. And so I was happy. I was more happy for her. I'm like, what? She needed this match. Even though she lost, this was a match that was needed for her. To show that, to remind people if they did forget or did not know that, Emma's are good-handed, as they say in wrestling, a good worker. I followed her even before she came to WWE. So I was happy for Emma that she had this moment, even though she lost. I think it was a good moment for her and a good way to showcase her skills. Because we already knew that the Connor's getting the push, but that doesn't mean that the person who's taking a loss got to be overshadowed or doesn't do anything. That was the case here, where Emma, even though she lost, she looked good in defeat. Hey, it's Charlotte on Muscle and Fitness. You got anything to drop on the Emma and Connor match?
No, I'm pretty much with you that yeah, Emma definitely did need this match, and I think this match actually showcased that okay, Emma's kind of starting to transition not just from like, full on legit heel, but I look at this, like heel turn. At first I wasn't feeling the heel turn. I'm like, nobody's gonna take Emma seriously after the bubble and weird dancing gimmick. I think honestly, if this goes very, very well for Emma, we definitely could see her back on the main roster, and I would actually like her to be a heel, going back onto the main roster. But I look at this heel turn, Malcolm, honestly, as a rejuvenation for Emma.
Yeah,
Like it actually takes her in a very different and good direction with her character.
yeah. I mean, she looks. I bring up. Just like how I agree with Nate when he talked about like TLC with Charlotte, how Charlotte looked kind of rejuvenated being a heel again. Like we saw this more of this confidence from her. So it's like, with Emma's the same
Yeah,
thing. I see.
her copycatting her dad basically, which I'm not really too fond of. I
Right.
mean, I know that they're doing. I know why they're doing it, Malcolm. But to me, it's like if you're gonna make Charlotte a heel, like make her a heel for all the right reasons, not just copying her dad, which I guess is supposed to be the inside joke of this.
Oh, well, when Charlotte was a heel, in NXT, I guess she was more like that, as they say, more of that Mr. Perfect type heel, meaning though she's a heel, she can beat you on her own merits. Like her ability is that good, like the franchise. Or even Triple H at times when he wasn't using a sledgehammer, he was, and I'm that damn good. It was like, yeah, he can beat you without cheating. But when he does, almost like it's like a slap in the face, like really, you need to cheat, and that's where that's like where the dick move comes in. Like, but same thing, speaking of like heel turns before going to the next match, same thing with like with Emma. The same thing goes for um Alexa Bliss. Me and Nate have always said we gotta commend Alexa with her heel turn. We thought that was the same thing. We are like, wait, this is not gonna work. Why are they gonna do this? And then next thing you know, with each fan was like, yo, she looks very comfortable as a heel. With her facial expressions, which is a good thing if you're a heel. They have great facial expressions. I'm like, okay, yo, all right. I was wrong. I ate crow. Okay. But so, and what the hell is Team Bad doing? Why are they dressed up? What the
They're poking fun at Paige and Becky
No, but they're not
and
dressed up.
Charlotte.
But they're not dressed up as them anymore. Freaking Naomi's dressed up
They're
as
dressed up
Rudolph.
as the Bellas, probably.
She's dressed up as Rudolph the reindeer. And look at that. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew Charlotte was going to twist Becky's words. When Becky said, I don't need your help in matches, I knew Charlotte was going to take it as, well, if you get ganged up, you don't need my help, right? Because you just watched freaking Becky get jumped by Team Bad. And now Becky's soaked with eggnog, which is sad. That's why we have to have eggnog, by the way. That's messed
But
up. But moving on to the next match, which was the first title match of the night. For the tag team championship. And look at Charlotte. Look at Charlotte laughing at Becky. Um, uh, for tag team championship, it was Kaz and Enzo, the beloved tag team NXT, versus.
yeah, versus the mechanics, as they call them.
Well, you know what? I guess that name is now passe because neither them or Corey and them called them the mechanics. It's just Dash and Dawson. I guess it's just Dash and Dawson, because we go on all day and night.
Yeah, their stupid theme song.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, yo, this guy had to have like strep throat when he did that song. We go on.
Yeah, their freaking like new grunge metal music. I'm like, okay, we get it. It's supposed to be the heel theme that signifies, yeah, these guys will hurt you. I'm like,
Hey, look at
like
Steve.
don't get me wrong. I'm liking Dash and Dawson as like the heel tag team, like the ones that are like, yeah, we're gonna hurt you and we're gonna hurt you bad, but change their theme song for the love of God.
Hey, man, because as the song say, they keep it gritty, keep it gritty, keep it dirty, keep it dirty. Hey, man, the fans love that theme. When the NXT crowd, you see them bopping into it. Yeah, yeah. And I've always say, hey, look, if the fans are bumping to your theme, hey, keep it. Keep it. If the fans react to it when they hear that theme, okay. Well, we know it.
Now,
So
I'm not gonna lie, like I was really looking forward to this match, and I was expecting to see a different side of Cass and Enzo, which we saw. Okay, we always laugh at them. It's like, oh yeah, my name is Enzo Amore, and da 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 da, and him and Big Cass are just having a little bit of fun. No, what we saw in that match, we saw the more aggressive side of what happens when you make Enzo and Cass mad, and I loved it.
and I love that too. And the reason why I love it because it stayed consistent. Because and the reason why I say it stayed consistent because once again I'm not trying to call them out or anything, but that's one issue that a lot of people have sometimes with a John Cena match when the build up is they piss John Cena off. But when he comes out, he wrestles his match. It's like that never happened. So it was good to see, okay, Enzo, they do their little shtick, but even when they did their shtick, it had a different tone to it. It wasn't, okay, like, oh, this is supposed to be fun. I was like, no, it's serious. And then when the match came, they were still serious. I'm like, okay, they're keeping consistent. Not, I thought it was going to be like, I'm like, please don't have it be when the match starts, they're doing some joke spot or something. Nah, from the opening lockup.
But and you know what though? One thing that I gotta really applaud was the fact that Dash and Dawson tried to do something. Like I forget the bald one now, the two of them. I think that's supposed to be
That's
Dawson.
I think the ball one is Dash.
Yeah, but whichever one of them grabbed Carmella, I always don't like that when like a heel uses like the face valet as a shield. And I love the fact that Carmella whirled around and slapped the crap out of him.
Heck, I was gonna say heck. Not even just the face valet. The heel valet would do that too with their own valet. Oh, like don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, yeah, but even before that, they basically teased, keeping consistent with the storyline. They basically teased Kaz's injury when he got chop blocked, and they tried to break his leg again, but it got stopped. And then, man, when they hit their finisher, man, I'm like, oh, Kaz, and I'm gonna do it. And then 1, 2, and I'm like, oh. I'm like, and then that's where Carmella got grabbed and then she decked freaking Dash. But then when Kaz tried to come in, he got thrown into the ring post, and then and then Enzo brought Dash in, and they get on the top rope. I'm thinking, wait a minute, and I think Dasham got a name for their assisted code breaker, but they hit it from the super
Well, no,
version of
I
it.
think I'm trying to think. Either they called it the grind machine or something like that, but it's supposed to
Yeah, I
have
think
like
I
a.
think it's the grind machine or the meat grinder. It's something grinder. And then the 1, 2, 3 hit. And I'm not gonna lie, when the 3 came, I immediately said, damn. And my friend Christian came, he's like, oh, you didn't want them to win. I was like, it's not necessarily I did not want Dash, but it's more of I just want to see Enzo and Kaz win the titles.
And
It's
they
more
came
that's why I
pretty
was upset.
close.
Wait, what happened, Steve?
What- I was saying, and they came pretty close in that match, but then it kind of did the what I call the MacGuffin plot of wrestling, where oh yeah, technically the face is gonna win, but oh let's just pull one move that like the crowd's gonna look at and just go really.
I mean, it was a real like bait and switch. I mean, first And look like that. Oh man, they're gonna win, and really like yanked the rug underneath, but yanked Kaz out. And I'm like, and then once the 3 count was like, damn. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? That was still a pretty good match. But I'm like, I really want Dash them to. I mean, I really wanted Enzo and them to win. And Nate says no, those guys are never winning the tag titles. And everybody Nate says that, and I kind of agree with him. I think it's like where it's called the Jake the Snake um tag, where the whole deal is that Jake the Snake was so over that one reason why he did not get the title because people felt that he didn't need the title. He was that over that he didn't need the title. He was going to stay over no matter. And Nate's probably right. That's maybe how they feel about Enzo and Kaz. That even when they don't have the belt, they're still over as hell. But I just want them to win the belt so bad. I really do. I always said when they did Brooklyn, I was like, could you imagine if Enzo and Kaz won the titles in Brooklyn?
I don't know why, but when you said that, the image in my head is that it's kind of the same thing that Apollo Crews and even to a certain extent Finn Balor have. Like they don't necessarily need the title because they already are over. The crowd is already into them.
Yeah, I mean, our crowds are into them, but at the same time, it's like, what's the saying is, you really shouldn't put the belt on somebody to get them over. It's more the belt is on them because they are over. So, case in point, you put the belt when they put the belt on when they put the belt on Drew McIntyre, the Intercontinental belt first time. It felt like it was just put. It was put on him to get him over, and didn't really. That really is
Yeah, when
not
they
what got
gave
him
him the IC
over.
title, like honestly, to me, when one could say that for a while everybody thought that yeah, Sami Zayn was never going to become NXT champion, but that he was going to be over. And honestly, the way I look at it is that even if Sami didn't win the belt, to me, Sami is still over. He still is a great wrestler, but to me, I think Sami winning the NXT title to me it made a lot of sense, but the only thing about his reign that I didn't like was that he didn't really have a legitimate reign, and I would like to actually see that when he comes back.
Yeah, he didn't have. He had one title defense. That was it. Because immediately once he won it, he was put on the shelf, and then when he came back, he had a match. He had a rematch against Neville. He won that, and then his next title defense was against who's coming out right now, aka Steve, KO, and he lost. So it was like, oh man, he only had one successful title defense. But I think with Sami Zayn, same thing for Bailey, because Daisy kind of did the same thing for Bailey. Is that there's certain people that are better, and it goes more for faces. They're better when they're chasing the belt than when they are the champion. Most people feel that's the same way for John Cena. They're more into him when he's chasing the belt. But once he becomes champ, it's like same old story. He does really nothing new as champion. So with Sami Zayn, I remember somebody he's a better bridesmaid than he is a bride. I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. Yeah. But so we go into and I hope that's not the case for Kaz and Enzo, that they're only chasers. They never get a chance to actually hold the belt.
See, to me, I do feel that their time to be tag champs will be soon.
Oh,
I don't think this thing with Dash and Dawson is over. I think this rivalry is going to end with Cass and Enzo one-upping Dash and Dawson and becoming tag champs. It's the only way to me
ooh,
that this rivalry ending would make sense. It would be very similar
oh,
to what happened with, Blake and Murphy and the Vaudevillains at Brooklyn.
oh no. Oh, yeah, hopefully, because if it's not Kaz and Enzo that's going to take the belt, I know for sure it's freaking Jordan and Gable, who are over as hell. Woo! You want to talk
Yes.
about over, and I say rightfully so, but that's another story. The next
You
match.
you you know what though? Some
What?
my buddy, my coworker Chris brought up this point, and I think even I've talked with you and Chris about this as well. Um, and or even just like you individually, but they keep saying that they're the world's greatest tag team. I think it would be great just once, just for like a takeover pay-per-view or something, actually have them prove that point by taking on Haas and Benjamin.
And I still feel that they are going to do that. For some reason, I feel that, especially when they had that promo when they said we're the world's great. And I think Gabe was like, "No, let's not say that." I thought, wait a minute, was that a little hint that Haas and Benjamin, might challenge them? But at the same time, I always say when people are there, they like Haas and Benjamin, I'm like, no, they are better. I feel they are better than Haas and Benjamin. They are Haas and Benjamin with more charisma, definitely. Um,
And I love what Chris said, and I agree with them. It's like at first, much like everybody else, I rolled my eyes, but now I'm actually starting to enjoy, that catchphrase, ready, willing, and Gable.
and don't forget, um, Gable's like other catchphrase, so sick. That's so sick. They're really
And,
entertaining.
and plus, I'm sorry, I like, Jordan's, back suplex assist, and then he just throws the guy, and then you got Gable catch and, do like that, bridged back suplex on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like if you thought that, like I said, if you thought that, you've seen mostly all the tag team moves in the book. I'm not gonna lie, the tag teams in NXT have some unique tag team finishers. They really do, and that's one that I really do. I really like. Okay, that's pretty cool. You know,
I still remember when I first saw the Ascension before they went up to the main roster, and I saw the Fall of Man. I'm like, that is legitimately a finisher, just like the Doomsday device with the Legion of, with the Legion of Doom. The Road Warriors. It's like that's a move that it's really shocking if somebody kicks out of that.
yeah. And that's one thing in wrestling is the saying. One of the things in wrestling that a lot of people lot veterans say that sometimes they feel that sometimes these companies have finishers be kicked out too early. It's like have it be built up, have the move get over enough so when the person finally does kick out, it's like, oh shoot, wait, whoa, they kicked out. Case in point,
Or like finisher reversals.
yeah, a case in point of it was a pretty big deal.
Case in point is Austin and Rock. Like Austin would go for the stunner, and then Rock would try to counter with the rock bottom, and then Austin would elbow him, try to stun him again. It's like you gotta have that certain chemistry, Malcolm,
Well,
to kind of like have the dynamic of okay, it's not just the finishing move, but it's the person that has the finishing move versus say like a rival, somebody that knows that they're going to go for this finisher and
oh,
anticipate it.
I mean,
And it's also the anticipation, Malcolm, that when your opponent knows how you're going to finish them off and you know how they're going to finish it off, it kind of adds to the tension of okay, who's going to hit their finisher first and get the win. And then when they finally hit their finisher and then that person kicks out, it gets the crowd into it more because then it's like okay, when is this finisher going to be effective enough that it puts them down for the three?
yeah, but at the same time, we're in a. I always say, anytime watching, we're in a certain era where okay, but when it's done right, it's all right. Kicked out, finish. But it's like now, Rainier hits an RKO in the pay per view, the first one. If the person doesn't kick out of it, I'm more shocked that they didn't kick out of it. Same thing for John Cena with his FU. John Cena hits his FU at a pay per view. The first one, I know it's not, because I'm like, kick out. But Kevin Owens hits the pop up powerbomb. I'm not like, okay, here's a kick out. I'm like, oh, that's it. So if somebody kicks out a pop up powerbomb, it's like, oh, they kicked out.
See what somebody needs to do
Oh no,
is
don't do this.
I mean I know I mean I realize that it's a finishing
Oh,
move. but oftentimes I think what they need to do is that they have a secondary finisher. Like case in point, if Randy Orton hits the RKO and he knows that an opponent more than likely is not going to kick out of it, or he maybe wants to put the exclamation point, say like say like his WrestleMania match with Seth Rollins, for example. He hits the RKO on Rollins, and then he thinks, yeah, I could pin him, but why don't I go the extra mile and just hit him with a punt kick just to put the exclamation point that, okay, he's going to be done. Like if you set it up like that, Malcolm, to me it makes a little bit more sense in terms of how dynamic the finish will be. Because you're not just hitting them with your main finisher. No, you're hitting them with especially the finisher that you don't see them do very often. So like if Rollins, for
Oh,
example, did the pedigree, well then, why not have him try to finish an opponent off, with the Phoenix Splash?
yeah, and that's one thing that if anybody that watches Ring of Honor, me and Chris, they don't like about it, because Ring of Honor actually will do that. Have somebody hit their finisher, they hit another finisher, but it always leaves a kick out. And I'm like, it's like, Ring of Honor really does. I'm like, they really, no, how can I put it? They really overuse finishes to the point where you just stop caring. Well, I just stopped caring. I'm like it'd be like a 5-6 hit finisher combo, and that still doesn't get the job done. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, and that's I think a lot of people's complaint sometimes with the indie style, where most of the time I guess they feel, all right, we do a lot of finishers and kick out of it. That's gonna make everybody's gonna get all crazy, but it's almost like, well, doesn't that kind of defeat your moves purpose? They had to take you 7, 8, 9, 10 just to get the job done. You don't feel anything wrong with that, and this person's not a monster heel. Oh, but speaking of kind of like monsters, because it was like the I guess the colossal match. The next match was Baron versus, oh man, Baron versus
Yeah, versus
Apollo.
Apollo, which I still don't like the finish.
And in all honesty, I didn't really like the match that much. And it has nothing to
You
do,
know, but
and it has nothing to do with
I
the
mean,
fact that Apollo lost. I just didn't really like the match. From my initial viewing of it, I didn't like it so much. And then when Chris came home from work and he watched it, and I watched it again, I was like, okay. I'm a little bit different on it, but it still wasn't my favorite match. And
to
I have to
me,
agree. What was you gonna say, Steve?
I was just gonna say, like, I see now I'm remembering the match in my head, and I'm like, I hate that finish. Like Corbin should not have been handed the W. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Oh, wait a minute. Wait a
Because
minute.
like that's like my main complaint. Like it wasn't just the fact that, oh, it's just another, Corbin match and Apollo is gonna have to probably like carry him. But it was just mainly the fact of, okay, he wins with the end of days, which, yeah, made the end of days legitimate because very few people kicked out. But to me, I'm like, if
Oh!
anybody should, it's like, to me, if anybody should be the first person to kick out the end of days, it should be Apollo. And to me, I thought, okay, Apollo's going to kick out and then he's going to hit his own finisher. And then, okay, that's going to be the end of the match. Well, then no, he gets pinned. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to give Apollo Crews, who has been on a roll, has faced everybody that possibly, could ever face him, and you hand Corbin like the first victory, the first person to beat Apollo Crews. I'm like,
Oh!
I'm sorry, but I don't find that legit to me. I really just don't.
I mean, say talking about finishing moves that are over and are so legit that if somebody does kick out, it'll be a big deal. The end of days. That's one right there. Nobody, I don't think anybody's kicked out of that yet. So when somebody does, it's gonna be a big deal. But for me, I'm a little bit opposite.
Rhino, I think Rhino was actually the first to kick out of it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Rhino did kick out in that match. I could be wrong. He probably did. But I'm a little bit opposite. My reason for not like, oh man, Dean's head. It wasn't necessarily because Apollo lost. It was Apollo's first loss. I mean, it's like, okay, obviously he was going to lose at some point. However, I kind of thought he was going to lose. It's probably if he challenged Finn. Probably he's going to lose his first ever title match. Okay, lose the Finn. And when Apollo, when Apollo hit his finisher or his main finisher, he has that power bomb move. Corbin kicked out of that, and I'm thinking that's why I thought when the end of days hit, I thought Apollo was going to kick out because I'm like, oh, Baron kicked out of Apollo's finisher. Okay, Baron's going to get his finisher. Somebody going to kick out of his, and that wasn't the case. I'm like, okay, I did want Apollo to win, but I do agree with Nate. I think one thing that I had an issue with the match was it felt shorter than it was. And I'm looking at the time here; it was only 11 minutes. But it felt shorter in terms of action-wise because, and this was the thing that both me and Nate had a problem with. Most of that match was just Baron like this, embracing whatever he was getting. Oh, throwing Apollo out the ring and just taunting him. That's mostly what the match was until the action came, and I was like, so now I'm like. There was too much of that instead of maybe, pounding. Because good thing, I agree with Nick, good thing Apollo did bring his aggressive side to that match. He kept the aggressive, like, yeah, he's still angry at Baron Corbin. He tackled him down and everything and started wailing on him. But most of the match was just Baron, like, yeah, or throwing Corbin saying, he threw Apollo and he was like, you should have stayed in the States. I'm like, stayed in the States? I'm like, stayed in the States? What are you talking about? And
yeah, he's basically telling me you should have stayed home.
Yeah, he just stayed in the States. That's what mostly the match was when Corbin was in control, just him taunting. And I'm like, so now I look back on, I'm like, yeah, it was too much of that and not enough of, okay, them actual action. And I think that's why the match felt shorter than it actually was. And Dean retains the Intercontinental Championship. That was an awesome match. So yeah, Corbin, he gets the win with the end of days. I'm not sure if that's the end of the feud. One could make an argument that it is, since Baron did win clean. There was no, oh, he cheated to win. No, he won pretty clean. And unless he comes out and brags about beating Apollo being the first man to do it, which he probably will, then I can see that. If he doesn't do that, if he does do it, then I see a legitimate reason to have Apollo, get back at him. But for right now, it seems like that was probably the end of the deal. I kind of hope not. I do like to see the face get some retribution. But if not, especially I would like to see an Apollo Finn match again. So I thought that Apollo won, it would give him an argument to have another title match. But it wasn't really my favorite match of the night, and be quite honest, it wasn't a lot of people's favorite. Most of the reviews that I'm seeing here, that was their least favorite match of the night. Who was it? Dave Meltzer. Everybody knows Dave Meltzer. He gave that match a 2.5 out of 5. And so, yeah, I guess too much of Baron parading and everything, kind of made the match seem shorter than it actually was. And what the hell? Oh no! Let me stop the recording for Chris. Okay. So then we move on to the next match, which was the second to last title match of the night.
And probably to me, I thought it was simply going to be a squash match like with Zayn and Owens, and I have to applaud it once again. Bayley actually Bailey actually put on a good match, and I got to give credit to Nia Jax. Like, Nia Jax really put herself over as the nearly unstoppable monster heel.
Yeah. So yeah, we get yeah. With that being said, yeah, the next match was Bailey defending her title against the undefeated Nia Jax. And before that match, one of the highlights featuring Nia Jax was when she was cutting a backstage promo. And as I figured, I think a lot of people figured it was going to happen sooner or later. We got a tease of her and Asuka. And I was like, okay, here we
When I
go.
saw that, I'm literally like, you know what? When she said, "Yeah, there's no woman that could beat me," and then they showed Asuka, I'm like, and I love the crowd, right? And I love the UK crowd. They just looked at that and they're like, and you could tell that I don't know, maybe it was the crowd, maybe the crowd was censored or what, but in my head, all I interpreted was the UK crowd just going, "Asuka's gonna effing kill you.
Yeah, I
Asuka's
mean,
gonna effing kill you."
yeah, when Nia said, "Are you looking at something?" I knew from the get go she's probably looking at Oscar. That's probably Oscar there, and then they panned over like, okay, it was. So and I
I
was
looked at that and I was like, okay, I'm like, there's a part of me, even though I know that, they had to have Bailey win clean, there's a part of me that was just like, you know what? There should be a part, at least with Asuka, like actually spin kick Nia Jax or do something to like show her. It's like, yeah, I'm not afraid of you.
well, it's funny that you bring up, we bring up Billy, because something that I did want to touch on that. I remember when me and Nate was going over Takeover. He brought some that made kind of sense. I look back on it, but yeah, Nia came out, and I was like, I was joking. I was like, it's funny that we're like 2 days away from Star Wars coming out, and her gear, she had like this entrance gear that almost looked like something out of Star Wars. So when she came, I was just going. Dun, 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 dun. I was just singing the Empire thing. I'm like, that kind of looks like something out of Star Wars. Because she was wearing her normal black, get up. And then she had like this like
Yeah, her
grayish.
tight leotard.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Hunter hasn't said to her like, you need something that doesn't look as form-fitting and tight. Yeah, people can see your butt cheeks.
Hell, I mean, I mean, I call her gear. I
I'm
call
not
her.
even kidding. I'm just like, all I see is latex booty, and I'm like, okay, is it like it's distracting because they show a back shot at Nia, and all I keep hearing in my head is just mirror.
I mean, I call her gear for all those. If you are watching that no football, I always call her gear that she looks like she's representing the Oakland Raiders, which is Chris's favorite team. Cause it's black and silver, and mostly anybody that knows football, you bring up black and silver, oh, Raiders. So Bailey comes out, and I was a little bit surprised that Bailey for Takeover didn't come out with her cape. But it was like a running theme that for Takeover she came out with like her cape. And but speaking of the UK, but bring up the UK crowd again, man. They were hot for Bailey instead of the usual, which was my favorite. Hey, we want some Bailey chant. They started spinning some Beatles songs. I don't think that song was a. I think that song was a Beatles song, but um, you know, Bailey, can you be my girl? And that was the chant that just kept sticking in my head. And Nate was like, "You think that
But
chant?"
you know what though? You know what's actually interesting about that match that really made it special? I mean, it would have been fun to see a belly to Bailey, but I also kind of understand, okay, they want to play with the fact that Nia is such a super heavyweight for the NXT Divas division that Bailey could not do that on her. So, okay, how is Bailey going to basically fight her? And I actually applaud not only Bailey, but I applaud, like, Hunter and all the creative team for that. Okay, she can't lift and do that to her because she may throw her back out or hurt herself. So what's the best way to take out a super heavyweight when you're taking them on? You can't body slam them. Go for a submission hold. And I love the fact that consistently Bailey kept going for the guillotine choke,
I
trying to
like
actually take the wind out
I
of
like
Nia.
that they did that, but that's what I'm gonna touch on eventually. I'm a little bit mixed with that. Mostly the match was cat and mouse at first. Bailey was dodging until she got swatted like in midair. It wasn't like she got swatted, she landed on her feet and then Nia just pushed her down. And from there on, I mean, Nia just Samoan dropped the hell out of it. She did one Samoan drop, and then she did the pop-up Samoan drop, which is one of my favorite moves, the pop-up version. And look, you gotta realize something. Nia Jax is big, not just tall, wide. So her coming down for a pop-up Samoan drop is pretty dangerous. Like a lot can go wrong with that. So that's why it's almost like, oh shoot. And
Well, one could say the same for Umaga when he was part of 3 Minute Warning and he did that.
true. And he actually did hurt somebody. When Lillian Garcia talked about when he did it on Lillian, because he really hurt her. When Lillian talked about, I think with Stone, yeah, when she was with Stone Cold on his podcast, which was a good podcast, by the way, with Lillian on there. So then, Nia hits, her leg drop. And, she puts her foot, and I'm thinking, okay, dominant finish, Bailey kicks out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see where they're gonna go with this. But really, Bailey still can't get anything going. And then it's another leg drop. And another leg drop. I'm thinking, okay, this is it. Bailey kicks out. I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on here? And I started joking. I'm like, Bailey's eating her senzu beans. She's eating her senzu beans. Then, because I had one of my newest friends that I met this semester. He's a freshman. His name is Cody, and he was watching it with me. And I don't know if Cody's a real ad wrestling man, but he did bring up where's John Cena. I'm talking about this is NXT. But he laughed when I said, she's eating her senzu beans. So then Bailey, she gets the leg drop, not on her face this time. She gets it on her neck, back of her neck and head. I'm thinking, not once, I think like 3 times. And I'm like, okay, that's it. And Bailey kicks out of that. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking either you kind of probably you're gonna have to you're probably gonna have to come with a new finisher because Bailey just kicked out of like 6 leg drops. And I know,
Bailey apparently has now become NXT's version of John Cena.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you said.
At least in that match.
No, it's funny what you said because if you think about her gimmick, like Nate always said, it is almost like a female version of John Cena, but it's more. I guess it's more believable that she's this lovable person. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. When I look at Bailey, I do want to hug her. I do want a hug from her. She just looks so adorable. Like, oh, she's like such a nice person to be around. So I think that's one reason why the crowd buys it. Because like Nate said.
No, I think the thing that's legitimate about her as well is when they said Eva Marie, and I wonder if it was a shoot comment. Or like, Hunter actually went over with Eva Marie and Bailey and said, hey, I want you to stay this line, but I love what Bailey said when she faced Eva Marie. She goes, I'm a female wrestler. I'm not a supermodel. And when Bailey said that, I was like, oh shit, please tell me that's a shoot.
Wait, was this on Breaking Ground?
It wasn't on Breaking Ground. No, remember when she was facing Marie?
She was like, she said, but let's be honest, but notice the thing that makes me different from that makes even Marie different from me. And then I forgot who interviewed her. He was like, what? she's not a wrestler. I am. I'm like, oh, I'm like, and in some cases, for instance, when Bryan did that with Cena, when he was basically calling Cena, "You're not a wrestler, I'm a wrestler." At times, it was like Bryan is getting a little bit annoying because we have seen Cena put on great magic. But when Bayley said to Eva, I was like, you know what? I can go with that because Eva didn't get signed for WWE through like wrestling or anything. She got signed at first solely for Total Divas. That's what she got signed for. At first solely for, and then they just stuck her in the ring. But yeah. So I'm thinking Nia, you're probably gonna have to get a new finisher. And the funny thing, Nia actually did hit her first finisher, that thrust spine buster, and that didn't get the job done. So I'm thinking, is she gonna try to? I'm thinking she might try to bonsai drop. I think if she bonsai drops Bayley, and Bayley kicks out of that, it's almost like, man, just stop the match and just say, all right, nah, you just can't beat it. It was to the point where when Bayley kept kicking out the leg drop, I thought the crowd was gonna start chanting, "You can't beat her," because Ring of Honor crowds have chanted that before. When one time Seth Rollins, when he was over in Ring of Honor, he was going under Tyler Black, and I think he was going against Davey Richards. And the story was, could he beat Davey? And he kept doing everything to Davey, and Davey kept kicking out and kicking out, and the crowd just started chanting, going with the story, "You can't beat him." And I thought they were gonna start chanting that, like, nah, you can't beat Bayley. There's just something about it you can't beat. And then, you know, Bayley locks in the guillotine, gets broken up. She's like, no, she even locked the guillotine on the top rope when they were both on the top rope. And I'm thinking, don't tell me Bayley's gonna get disqualified, because I'm thinking, well, that's illegal. You can't guillotine somebody while they're on the top rope because they're on the rope. And then she gets thrown down. And then Nia's all winded, goes back again, guillotine. I'm like, now she's eating her sens and beans. She's eating that pit bull dog meat. Like, look at Bayley go. Look at Bayley go.
I think the part that at one point actually started killing me, Malcolm, with laughter, because I was doing something. I was organizing like my comics and stuff, because I've been doing a lot of mystery box stuff for a lot of my coworkers and people that are getting into comics. You know, something nice to do during the holidays. So I'm looking over, and the next thing I know, I see Nia just sitting down with Bayley guillotining her, and Bayley just I'm like, what did I miss?
I mean, the funny thing is that I forgot.
Not her knees, sitting down, being guillotined.
Yeah, not only did Bayley do a try to guillotine. I forgot. She first did a dragon sleeper, and then even tried to pull a triangle choke. But then she just kept doing the guillotine. And then once finally Nia sat down, which for I'm no expert in terms of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or so, but I know for sure the last thing you want to be is guillotine sitting up. That you're basically in your own, digging your own grave. You're sitting up and you get guillotined. Because that has the person have so much leverage to just lean back on you, just lean back. And I'm thinking, this still might not do it. And then Nia taps out, and I'm like, my eyes lit up like, whoa, she tapped out. And then my friend Cody.
No, and it wasn't just that she tapped out, Malcolm. It's how long it took for her to finally say, okay, I give.
It still took a long time for her to tap out. And my friend Cody, he was leaving. And we was talking about something. I was like, oh, shoot, she tapped out. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, wait, what? I'm like, Bayley won. And it's funny. This is Bayley's second submission victory in a row for Takeover, because how she beat Sasha was by making Sasha tap out for her final fall. And what immediately the first thing I thought of was, I said to Nate that what's really hard to do in a David versus Goliath match. There's been plenty of David versus Goliath matches in wrestling, but one of the hardest things to do is have a David versus Goliath match where both David and Goliath look strong. Most time it goes the one with where it's just solely for David to look like the underdog that never gets it, or it just looks like
And you
for
know what
Goliath to be
though?
this yeah, or for Goliath
I'm
just to
gonna
be this dominant force, and that's it. This case, it was where both Nia looked strong and Bailey looked strong, and I was like,
I'm gonna say this much, Malcolm. If on Wednesday that like Nia does, not full on face, still be a heel, but at least like the case of the heel giving the face props. If Nia doesn't go, okay, you made me tap, but I guarantee you won't be able to do it twice, and it leads to a rematch. I'm like, okay, I can go with that. I can accept that because, basically Bailey pushed Nia harder than Nia ever had. Not only that, but Bailey did pretty much what many would consider, at least in a David versus Goliath match, kind of the impossible. She pulled off, what they call, the Goliath miracle of wrestling.
I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting Nia to tap, and you know, and then when Chris, Chris was shocked too when he finally saw the match, and Chris said it. Me and Chris talked about it. We thought the same thing. We thought, more firstly me, and then when finally here that Chris thought the same thing. I thought the story was of the match was going to be a la Brock Lesnar Big Show, the first ever match they had. For those of you that don't remember, the story coming into that match, the in-match storyline was, thanks to Paul Heyman, I don't think you can beat the Big Show. B, I don't think you can suplex the Big Show. C, I don't think you can F5 the Big Show. And Brock did 2 out of 3. He suplexed him and he F5'd him. Cleanly F5'd him. And I thought the story for Bailey and Nia Jax was, can Bailey, not only can she beat her, A, but B, can she Bailey to belly her? And the funny thing is, nobody can say, oh, they tested that story. No, they didn't. Not in one point did Bailey even attempt to Bailey to belly. She never did. You never saw her try to wrap up Nia and lift her up. I was like, no, they didn't even attempt that storyline. Maybe if they have a rematch, they'll probably do that where Nia no longer wants to get guillotined, and then Bailey's gonna have to, okay, I'm gonna use all my power. I'm gonna bail you up, and I'm gonna.
No, you know what? That's something for their rematch. If they do have a rematch between Nia and Bailey, that's good. That would actually be the stipulation for the rematch. That could actually test that theory. It's like Nia basically saying, I want a rematch, but you can't use any submission moves on me. You have to actually, the only way you're going to beat me is if you hit me with your finisher.
Yeah, and at the same time, I always say, there's no cleaner victory in wrestling than really, unless somebody gets like, I don't know, somebody clips somebody's leg with a pipe and they get put in a figure 4 egg and they tap out.
Not only that, but here's the way that I would predict, the rematch ending. The rematch could, would end with Nia about ready to do a top rope bonsai move, bonsai drop, or attempting to do one, and Bailey obviously like setting her up and then doing a super Bailey to belly off of the top rope onto Nia and then pinning her. Like to me, that would be legit of a finish.
I thought that
because she's not just doing the regular Bailey to belly, Malcolm, but she's doing it from the top rope.
I
Or
thought
the
that
second rope even.
I thought that's what was going to be the finish, but I always say there's really no cleaner finish in wrestling than making somebody tap out. There's really no fluke in making sense. So that's why it's almost like really Nia cannot come out and say it's a fluke. Your ass tapped out. It's almost like you probably getting pinned could be a fluke, but somebody making you tap out, it's almost like you don't see monster heels. Their first loss, remember, that was Nia's first loss. So her for it to be a submission, And that's where I segue into the conversation that I had with Nate, the conversation that I also had with Chris. While we do like that, it was pretty interesting to have Bayley make Nia tap out and to show the pit bull tenacity of Bayley that she was not willing to give up and kept on doing the guillotine. At the same time, I really do question, why did you guys think of having Nia's first loss be a tap out? Because most monster heels, their first loss, if it's clean, is by pinfall, or probably they get knocked out and they're down for a 10 count. But it's like, I don't recall ever seeing, Vader. When I grew up, when I was watching, Vader was already, I think, gone. But I don't recall Vader's first loss being submission, because most of the time it's like they're a monster. It's going to be a hard time before we make a monster.
But you know what? NXT's broken. NXT, Malcolm, has kind of broken the mold for a lot of firsts that you don't usually traditionally see in wrestling.
Well,
and that's actually a good thing.
In a way, yes. In a way, yes. They have, kind of broken the mold with certain things. But even I'm not just running, okay, because NXT, I'm not going to. It is something to really go, okay, they had Nia tap out. And the reason why I say that, because like Nick brought up, you already teased her versus Kana, who's a submission specialist. And like I said, my thing is, now if I look at Nia, I'm going to say this to her. She goes against Kana. I will say this to her. If Bayley could make you tap, then I sure as hell know Kana can make your ass tap. And that's why I'm like, was that kind of if you guys were building up Kana versus Nia, was that kind of the good way to go? Because now you might think, all right, Bayley is not a submission member, but she was able to make Nia tap out. Kana, who's been making everybody tap out, can sure as hell make Nia tap out. And as you say, if Nia gets knocked out, then I would say, okay, you've had Nia get tapped out and now knocked out. That kind of loses the monster appeal. She's not a monster. I'm like, she's just as vulnerable as anybody else. If she can get knocked out and tapped out, okay, she's dominant, but she's no monster anymore. She's just a powerhouse. So that's why I with me, Nate, and then me and Chris talk, we found that interesting that, okay, you're building up Oscar and Nia. It's kind of interesting that you had Nia tap out. Her first was a tap out instead of saving that probably for Oscar to do it. Pretty interesting, because now, like I said again, if Bayley can make Nia tap out, who says that Oscar can make, and probably can do it quicker because she's a submission specialist. I thought that Nia was going to pass out to the guillotine, not tap out. I thought she was just going to pass out. Like, she killed the dragon, making her tap out. I mean, making her pass out. But I'm like, okay.
More since WrestleMania, like the WrestleMania 13 one with Stone Cold and Bret Hart, like, or like even Brock Lesnar and Undertaker, when Undertaker had Brock in the Hell's Gate, he flipped him the bird. It's like something similar with Nia. Nia just basically telling Bayley, it's like, I'm not gonna tap out. I'm gonna fight this to the end.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, it's not like if anybody's watching thinking, oh, well, I guess you didn't like the match because of the ending. No. The ending, I'm mixed with it. I'm not sure if that was the right way to go, having her tap out. That does not affect how I feel about the match. It doesn't. I felt the match told a great story. And another thing I liked about it, Bayley came back without having to do a superhuman Hulk up comeback. No, she sold everything. Even when she did the guillotine, she looked hurt. It looked like me and Chris said, that was just survival instinct. Like, her primal instinct just came up, like, I'm just to survive. I'm just gonna hold on until I can't, until you just pass out. And that's why I like it, because most of the time it's like, no respect to Hogan, but Hogan takes all these beatings, but you know he's going to hulk up and not sell a damn thing. Or sometime with Cena, he's not going to sell a damn thing. So it's a superhuman comeback. Bayley's wasn't. It was a believable, okay, she's coming back, but she's still freaking hurting. And I love that. Like, oh, she didn't hulk up. She just used her primal instincts to keep on fighting. She just became a survivor. But no, this is not a segue into beyond to Destiny Child Survivor. But she was a survivor. You know, or as in who played Stryker in X-Men 2 with Wolverine. You're a survivor. You always have been. That's what it's like with Bayley. You're a survivor, Bayley. You always have. You always have been a survivor. But this is also the question. If they're building up Nia versus Asuka, it does leave the question. Where does Bayley go from here? Who is her next opponent if it's not Nia? Is it Emma? You know, the new and improved Emma, but Emma just took a loss. So unless they do some normal contenders where Emma gets this win, I'm not sure who's Bayley's next opponent. I know it's not Sasha. I know it's not Becky. I know it. Please don't let it be Eva again. I'm just saying that it's done. What's done is done. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I give W credit. The way they set that matchup between Bayley and Eva did make me care for that match. They had me like, oh shoot, something might go down here. Like, Bayley's gonna get screwed. Oh, Bayley's gonna get screwed. No, I'm like, okay, but moving on to the next match, the main event of the evening. The Samoa submission machine himself, Samoa Joe, or let me say like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe versus the Demon himself, or I should say Jack the Ripper, Finn
That
Balor.
was something going into Takeover that I was very curious about, because we've always seen him do his mock Bullet Club entrance the last couple of times, and we're like, okay. And they kept showing this Jack the Ripper looking promo guy, and I was like, part of me is like, if Finn's bringing the Demon to London by any chance, I'm like, watch it be a Jack the Ripper type entrance. And it's just like I said after I watched Takeover. And I told you, Nate, and everybody else, I said, you know what? I called that if they were going to be in London, that, that Balor's Demon entrance was basically just going to be an homage to Jack the Ripper. Going to have a whole bunch of fog and just have him just menacingly walk, maybe even holding a switchblade in his hand, a bloody switchblade, to the ring, and then just grabbing his belt along the way.
Yeah, I mean, because throughout the build-up for Takeover, they kept showing, like Jack Ripper, the silhouette of Jack Ripper walking down the hall, walking down an alley, and then when he gets close, slash, and then Takeover. But I didn't think, okay, that's supposed to be Finn. And then when Finn's entrance came and they showed, I'm like, okay, what? And then I like what they said.
No, but I think what solved it too was then all of a sudden you just heard the scream and the blood like drip, like somebody's throat had just been slashed. I was like, okay, it's like Finn still has a few tricks up his sleeve for like these special entrances.
Yeah, I mean, and then I agree with Nate. It's like, was that promo for Jack Ripper always going to be for Finn, or did Finn just take it upon himself and say, "Hey, you guys doing that Jack Ripper? Hey, how about I do that?"
Let's honestly face it. Finn is an incredibly creative guy, so I think Finn's the one that said, "Hey, why don't you have me, dress as the silhouette of Jack the Ripper?"
Exactly.
And then
I feel that way too. I feel that he probably saw the promo, or probably when he was making it, and say, okay, instead of that just being a promo to promote Takeover, oh, how about you actually incorporate that in the show? I basically will do it.
Basically Finn was the one that promoted the idea of, hey, why don't we make the promo of me as Jack the Ripper, but then, also to kind of swerve fans, kind of make them think, okay, is this supposed to be my entrance, or is this like, to me, I thought, okay, that's not the promo. I'm like, that's going to be Finn's entrance. Sure enough, I was right. And
Yeah,
man, when Finn came out, I love that they silhouetted him. They didn't show him in the demon makeup till he got pretty much like right to like the front part of the barricades, or like midway through, and then we see him with the bowler hat, the demon makeup. And the thing that I actually had to pause, because I'm like, okay, I always like looking at the back tattoo designs that he has. If for anybody that never like caught that at Takeover, um, Finn's back was actually the chapel tower from actually Whitechapel, like the main, like the main, like like clock tower that's in Whitechapel. That's supposed to be like a mural of basically Whitechapel on Finn's back, which I was like, okay, that adds to the cleverness of the gimmick.
yeah. It was great that Finn did that because it makes the demon entrance fresh. It made it fresh because, yeah, like you said, from he didn't do it at the takeover respect. He still did the Finn. He still did the Bullet Club, like entrance, which kind of became his entrance. Period. After, so I'm thinking,
Yeah,
is
but that was also from the Dusty Rhodes Classic too.
yeah, but true that was with the, but still, the theme became for Takeover. He brings out the demon, but he didn't do it at that take. So I'm thinking, is that the end of the demon that he wants to, rock, the Bullet Club look. And I thought that when he rocked that look, that was meaning he was going to turn heel, because the people that know, the people that or they don't know, when Finn turned heel in Japan, he started wearing. That's when he did the Bullet Club. He started wearing the jacket. It was when he turned heel. So I'm thinking, is Finn fixing to turn heel? But sure enough, it was Joe turning heel, which I did applaud, because I always said after KO left, there's really no top, heel. I'm like, Baron is still, up and coming, but Joe has the experience to be a top heel, like legit top heel. So I'm like, okay. So let me get on with the match. And from the get go, you know, I would, probably think, okay, because it's Finn and Samoa Joe, you're probably gonna get some chain wrestling. Nope. You got a tease of it, with them kicking the light kicks to each other. But from the get go, once Finn hit a drop kick, it was off the races. We went. Um,
And you know what though? Not Finn, but Joe Malcolm did something that we've rarely seen opponents do with Finn, especially when he's dressed as the demon. Like, KO is, I think, the only one that came somewhat close to it, which is the fact of Joe, even more so than KO, Joe took the fight to Finn. Like, Joe actually made you believe that, yeah, he actually could kick the crap out of Finn and maybe take the belt.
yeah, that's one of the that's what that makes a championship match great, is when you're going in there and you can believe that, okay, the title might actually change hands here, you know, and that's how the same thing for Bailey and Nia, where the same thing for Dash, Dawson, and Enzo. They made you feel that,
One,
oh shoot.
one of the spots that I love, and I always said with that, shotgun drop kick of Finn, so I'm like, there's going to come an opponent that's going to know that he's doing that, even when they're not expecting it, and will actually duck out of the way and make him crash to the turnbuckle, which is what Joe did.
And over again, first Joe got shotgun drop kicked almost head first in the steel steps. And then this was like in the first couple minutes of the match. And then freaking Finn tried to crush him with the coup de grace off the apron onto the steps. And then he got ST Joe'd on the floor. But I mean, it was physical as I knew it would be. And it was interesting when Joe, he locked on the Kakina clutch. No, it's interesting when he locked the key and clutch, and then Finn made it to the ropes. But then Finn was on the apron, and Joe pulled him over the rope with the key and clutch. And I'm thinking, man, you've been choked out 3 times during this build-up. Sooner or later, you're going to have to counter this thing. And sure enough, Finn anticipated the drop back. He rolled through and then did the double. I was like, that was a nice spot. It's almost like he remembering, like, all right, just anticipate when he's going to drop back. Whoop.
The one thing that I did have to laugh at was when Finn went to go for the Pele kick. To me, I'm like, okay, I know that this is one of Finn's signature moves, but it's like you would think that Joe would know, okay, he's about ready to try to Pele kick me, and at the last second dodge it and lock back in the Coquina clutch. Like it would have been a legit counter.
Well, Joe actually did counter he didn't counter, but he did swat the Pele. He did swat one Pele kick away. I think it was after he got hit with the first one, or I think he swatted the first attempt away, and then he got hit. Then he got hit with a Pele kick. But yeah, I know I agree with you to a degree that it is when you build up when you make the story seem as though when you have the commentator talk about these guys know each other. It's to the point where you're expecting, okay, the first attempt of this move is not going to work because the person knows it's coming. So it probably is going to take another attempt. I think I'm pretty sure that's what it was. He blocked the first one, and then he got hit with the second attempt when they both went down. But Joe, he tried to go for a muscle buster. He didn't get it. The muscle buster was not hitting the match at all. I thought the end was definitely when Joe, he kept getting a shotgun drop kick. He got drop kick in the back. No, then he got drop kick in the back, and he went face first in the turnbuckle. I think that was the first time I ever seen Finn do the shotgun drop to somebody's back, which is kind of dangerous since how much force Finn puts into it. And Joe finally falls down, and then Finn goes to the top rope. I'm thinking, okay, I got the coup de grace. But then Joe tries to stop him. And then Joe hits his insecurity, but Finn's still on top. I'm thinking a super muscle buster. Is this the end of Finn's reign? But Finn blocks it, and no, Chris was laughing when Finn was fighting back because he was laughing because all you hear is Finn just, yeah. It's like, oh, like down goes Joe. And then the coup de grace hits, and 1, 2, 3, Finn retains. And I'm not going to lie, I was shocked that Finn retained. I really was. I really thought that Joe was going to win because I remember when my friend Will, he asked, who you think going to win out of Finn versus Joe? I said, he's like, I think Joe's going to. I'm like, I think so too. I think Joe's going to win this. And when Finn won, I'm like, oh shoot, Finn won. I'm like okay, he won. He retained. He retained. Okay, and both Chris and Nate. What the hell? Both Chris and Nate. And this, I don't know how I bring them up because he's the only people I talked with. I only talked with about Takeover before talking with Steve. They both not only thought that Finn was going to lose, but that Joe probably should have won. And I'm like, you know what? I would have not had a problem if Joe won there. I would have not had a problem. I'm like, okay, Joe won. Okay, his first big match as a heel in NXT, he wins the belt. Okay, but a part of me, this is a part of me that I wanted Finn to win because Steve just brought it up earlier. If Finn would have lost, he would have only had one successful title defense under his name, and that would have been that rematch against KO. Because remember, the one against Apollo, he didn't win and he didn't lose, but he retained his belt because stupid Baron Corbin got involved. So a part of me was like, oh man, Finn loses. That means he only successfully defended his belt, really successfully defended his belt only one time. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm really not a big fan. Somebody only they only have one title defense under their name. It's like I Steve brought with Sami Zayn. And the reason for that, one, you can put that, don't forget they did the Dusty Rhodes Classic. So that kind of interfered with Finn's reign because he was in the tournament. But that was a part of me why I wanted Finn to win. Okay, at least he can say he has two successful title defenses under his belt. But if Joe would have won, I wouldn't have had a problem. But I'm not sure that's the end. But then there's something scary that happened. And both me, Chris, Nate found it scary. I'm not sure if you did. I'm not sure if you noticed or you found it to be scary, Steve. But after the match, when Joe, and that was pretty funny, when Joe, they showed Joe's face, he's bleeding everything. He's just all like he's got like frostbite or something. And he's trying to have frostbite, he's crying, and he's all I'm like, what is wrong with him? But after the match, Finn looks very lightheaded. And he sits down and the doctors are with him. And I agree with Nate. I'm like, I'm not sure if Finn is selling or something's really wrong. Like, or he's something. He really got knocked for a loop. He didn't look all there after the match. Even before they cut the Joe, when he was looking at Joe, he looked like he's not there. Like he probably got knocked out. And I guess he was telling the ref when he went up for the coup de grace, something happened. I was reading his lips and I was looking at his body and he kept going up, pointing up. I'm thinking like something happened with the coup de grace. I'm like, is something okay? Is something wrong with Finn? Did he get like hurt or something? Like, or he just like he's really lightheaded? But luckily, no news has come out that Finn got hurt or injured. So hopefully that was just him selling. Hopefully he just got knocked for a loop a little bit and he just had to catch his breath. But no,
He
all in
probably was
all,
just lightheaded.
no, yeah, probably, probably he was just lightheaded.
He probably got lightheaded. And he probably just overdid it a little bit. And they're saying, "Oh, are you okay?" And Finn just saying, "Yeah, just a little bit lightheaded. I think I overdid it."
Because I mean, Finn does jump pretty high. But all in all, once again, NXT does it again. As I always say with these takeovers, I have yet to have said that, oh yeah, there's been a takeover I did not like. Like overall, I did not like all the takeovers since they've started. Even if you count Arrival, which was their first NXT, their first WWE Network special, which was my introduction to NXT. They have always been.
That's the one thing about NXT. It's not only become a global phenomenon, but one could even say that NXT, despite being the training brand for WWE, has become one of their stable mainstays.
Heck, it's to the point where when you say it's the developmental league or circuit for WrestleMania, I mean from WWE, you put it in quotation because you're like, yeah, it is. That's what it is. But
And if anything, when you say that, it kind of comes across as a bit of an insult to the talent that works there at NXT.
well,
Because really, they're not even just developing their skills. It's like they're pretty much on point.
well,
It says something when what's supposed to be your training brand is bigger than your main brand that's actually on syndicated TV.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I always say, if you was to watch NXT Takeover, this NXT Purpose, especially a Takeover, and your buddy has never seen NXT, but they're like, oh shoot, this is awesome, and then you nudge them and say, hey, guess what? This is basically the developmental circuit for WWE. They will look at you like, wait, what? They probably look at you, wait, this supposed to be the developmental? It's to the point where I think it's becoming where I think my friend Jose, who's a big fan, I know he's a big okay. He mostly every day he's wearing a wrestling shirt. He's like the only person besides me when I came in with the Daniel Bryan or Bryan and Stone Cold shirt that wears wrestling shirts. Even one day he came out wearing. One day he came with the Dudley Boys glass he made himself. But anyway, even he said that he feels to the point where when they go up to the main roster, it's a downgrade instead of being an upgrade. I'm like, you know what? How some
Yeah,
people
because
have,
look what happened to Neville.
well, you know what? I'm
Look
not
what
too.
happened to the Ascension.
You know what? I will say the Ascension, but I'm not too quick to say with Neville. Not just yet. Yes, Neville started off hot, and then he did the whole thing with Stephen Amell, and then so far he's almost like he's in limbo right now. He's with this thing with the Miz, but but I'm not so quick to say Neville yet. But the Ascension, yeah, after their thing with the New Age Outlaws, they didn't do squat. Then Tyler Breeze. Nate said he's already dead. He's already dead in the water. I think that too. I already think Tyler Breeze. He's just already become another guy on the roster.
I don't know why Adam Rose is still showing up there. Although I do like that they got him as more like the snarky, talk show host. I'll be honest. The ones that are actually starting to get a little bit better, like the Lucha Dragons, especially Kalisto, they're
So yeah,
starting to get pushed a
The
little bit
Lucha
more.
Dragons are turning out fine. KO since his first night on the main roster, there's really been no problem. Even though I still feel even though I still feel he should have won.
Rusev is kind of starting to hang in limbo from when he first debuted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. I think how did me and Nate describe it? You can describe it as pre pre hype NXT and now post when NXT became this big thing. When Rusev came, NXT just started to make this noise on the network. But yeah, Rusev started off pretty, with this undefeated streak. Now with this whole League of Nations with their Ganondorf / Soul Calibur music, um, I'm not sure. Bo Bo Dallas, yeah, he's already just a jobber. um,
He's like our truth jobber status.
yeah. Who else is he got okay? But if you talk about after NXT got the big hype, the big praise from everybody, it's been that come up has been KO, Neville, the Ascension, and the Lucha Dragon. Oh, how can I forget? Charlotte, Sasha, Becky.
And they're doing Becky dirty, I think.
Hopefully, this is actually going to lead to something with Becky, what they're doing with her and Charlotte. But yeah, and before that, Becky was kind of, really like the third wheel. It was like the third wheel. Sasha, even though Sasha has not really got a one-on-one title match yet, I do agree when Nate says WWE has protected Sasha. They really have. She's barely really lost matches. She still gets airtime. And when she does, she makes the most out of it when she gets the chance to. So Sasha, okay. Charlotte's the champ. So, but the Ascension, yeah. To the point where you got the crowd putting, I'm waiting for the Ascension to get ascended again or something. Um, but you can argue that them going to the main roster, the NXT people, kind of seems like a downgrade instead of an upgrade. Uh, but yeah, NXT.
I mean, you would think with Neville, especially since his moniker is the man that gravity forgot, that they would. And I understand they don't want concussions, they don't want serious injuries, but I would think with Neville that they would have Neville do a lot more stuff because when he first debuted there for a while, he's doing 450s off the ring apron. You
Yes.
know, I mean, he still does hit the red arrow, but I don't know. To me, it just the last couple of times it doesn't look like it. What I really want to see is the imploder like 450, like that. You know, I want to see him like bring that like rare move back. You know, the reverse 450, because like
Yeah,
that was really cool when he did that to Bo Dallas.
yeah. The imploder 450. Uh, that move is awesome. But you know, NXT once again, these takeovers. This was the last takeover of the year. Um, they still have yet to, you know, there's not been a takeover for me that I'm like, yeah, that was just bad. Unlike, you know, Survivor Series this year, where I'm like, man, that was just flat out bad. The takeovers have yet to do that for me. Heck, even NXT has yet to do it. I'm like, nothing was really good about the NXT. But and you know,
And
uh,
what you didn't like, you they actually made up for with other stuff.
yeah, I mean, you know, when I was talking with Nate, he said first that he felt it was the weakest of all the takeovers. I was like, really? I'm like, no, I still think the weakest takeover. And when we say weak, is just mean in terms of level, because like Nate, I mean, Nate, the bar of these takeovers has been set so high that it's like it's hard to really rank them. Okay, which one was better than the next one? But I said them. I still think that the weakest takeover was Fatal Four Way. Yeah, I still think that was the weakest, but it was still good. I still think so far these years, I think Respect, no, Brooklyn has been the best takeover. I still think Brooklyn was the best takeover for this year, but still, London was great. Um, I know they're coming back to Brooklyn next year. I wonder if they're going to come back to London for. Is that going to be like a thing? NXT London, you know, part two. I love the UK crowd. Once again, showing why they're one of the best crowds in all of wrestling, in my opinion. Um, Bailey and Nia Jax told a great story. And if you was to say that to you that was the best match of the night, I wouldn't I wouldn't knock you. And it has nothing to do with because they're females, because I don't buy into that. You know, that's why I always say as much as I'm cool with Gabi and all, I really did have to take a little bit of offense when he said, when I talked about Unforgiving, and I said that Beth Phoenix versus Candice Michelle was the best match, and he said, you know, if a Divas match is the best match, then you know then you know the pay per view's got a problem. And I really I didn't say anything, you know, but I was like, guy, that's kind of a little bit messed up, don't you think? That's kind of reinforcing the fact that you know, the women, really don't belong or anything. And that's why I said that the years later, the best match of Respect was Sasha and Bailey. And I will say this: next corner will probably be the end of the year award corner. And I'm gonna let you know now, like a little spoiler. My match of the year is still Sasha and Bailey Brooklyn. Nothing, and I repeat it, nothing has changed my opinion of that. Even the Iron Woman match, which brought tears to my eyes. For those of you that know, I actually teared up when the match over because I was like, they did it. They main evented and successfully. But still, the Brooklyn match is still my match of the year. And that's why I was a little bit upset, a little bit that WWE didn't put that in their category for match of the year. Actually, no NXT match was on there. None. None. But anyway, so yeah, so now you know what the next corner is going to be, and you know what's already my match of the year. So yeah, I already spoiled what my match of the year is going to be. So that's not just my favorite female match; that's my favorite match of this year. Period. Sasha versus Bailey. Uh, so you know, Takeover London was great. I hope you enjoyed this corner. You know, along with my good friend, Steve. Uh, this was the last corner before Christmas, so we wish you Merry Christmas. You know, if you're a fan of The Christmas Story, which is going to come on TBS, a marathon, that's one of my favorite Christmas movies. You know, Red Ryder BB gun. You know, don't shoot your eye out. Uh, and if you still haven't seen
Dang, you beat me to it.
if you still haven't seen Star Wars, which I haven't, you probably this Christmas you probably want to go see it.
Well, which I can honestly tell you guys, I stood in line that Friday, um, from where I was sitting at for the entrance of our theater, all the way around, looped to the very back of the theater, all the way to the entrance of one other theater in a giant, like very thick U shape. It's like, and I'll put it this way, not going to give you guys spoilers, but not going to give you guys spoilers, nothing like that. I won't even talk about the movie because I still feel bad that some of my coworkers I've like hinted or teased, far too many things. But I'll put it to you guys this way: me and everybody else, my mother included, when the end credits rolled for that movie, we all cheered and applauded because that guys, I'm gonna go with the phrase that director J.J. Abrams said on Twitter before this movie came out. History repeats itself.
History does repeat itself for good purposes and bad purposes. Um, so yeah, I still have yet to see Star Wars Force Awakens. I still have yet to see Creed. I think I'll be seeing Creed before Star Wars. Um, but anyway, this is Hokley 93, always in the place to be. And then for myself and for my good friend Cyclopedia, aka Steve, until the next corner, stay easy. And of course, it's that one syllable word. Peace.